Good afternoon. Today, we're going to be talking about nuclear energy's place in the U.S. infrastructure. So, according to a study by M.G. Granger Morgan, nuclear energy has for 3 decades produced roughly 20% of U.S. power generation. However, this comes with several issues. These include cost escalation, the storage of waste, negative public opinion, and proliferation. Funding and research for nuclear has been a very large aspect of our energy infrastructure. As of World War II, people have put a lot of money and funding and research into nuclear energy. This, combined with the promise of fusion energy, makes nuclear a promising source in the eyes of many citizens. However, this is slipping away as these types of development are starting to slip and become stagnant. However, we can look towards nuclear energy, not nuclear energy, but renewable energy, which has some proven potential as compared to nuclear. According to Lozanova, a communications professional specializing in renewable energy, one new 250 megawatt solar farm can be built every 9 months. A total of 14 utility-scale solar farms within the same decade it takes to build one nuclear plant. But for solar to produce as much electricity would require nearly 4 times as much to be built. However, the cost would be just 50% of the cost of the $25 billion Vogtle nuclear plant. Therefore, renewables may have the potential to do better than nuclear energy if given more research and development towards being built and more plants just coming up. This is a simply better output for cost. However, if we were to do this, we would be leaving nuclear basically behind. So it's important to keep in mind that we put a lot of time and energy into nuclear development, and people aren't just going to give that up. A lot of this has to do with how much it's been invested in and the promise of fusion energy in the eyes of people, as it is a very promising state. And this idea of our background and our review of what nuclear energy and renewable energy has given to us will determine how our solutions are going to be presented.
Alright, so our first solution is we want to use nuclear energy as a way to turn our main energy source from non-renewable energies like coal, that kind of stuff, to renewable energies like wind, solar, that kind of stuff. So we're going to use the nuclear energy as a bridge between carbonization and renewable energies. Some pros are like prevention of climate change and no carbon emissions. The cons are it's expensive, and the public view of nuclear energy is they believe it's not good, and they believe it's harmful to the environment and humanity, that kind of stuff. As stated by Greenpeace, nuclear energy has no place in a clean, sustainable future and is dangerous and expensive. Some limitations is we'd have to convince the public to support nuclear energy if we want the solution to work. And implications is climate change could be halted and stopped, and the environment would return back to a healthy state. So, some problems with public's view of nuclear energy is, so Chernobyl and Fukushima are 2 major nuclear energy meltdowns that happened in history, and we would have to convince the public that there's still some good in nuclear energy, and it's not all really bad with all the meltdowns.
Solution 2 is to increase funding for nuclear reactors and research. This increase in funding will allow for new generation reactors, Generation 4, to be produced and implemented. According to the World Nuclear Association, a major trade publication for the development of nuclear energy, says that these new reactors would cut down reactor costs and implementation time. One such reactor, molten salt reactors, use molten salt as a coolant and dissolves fertile and fissile fuels into the salts. According to the CEO of Moltex, a major company spearheading the MSR industry, it says that these reactors are cheaper and cleaner than fossil fuels. These reactors also cut down on nuclear waste and improve sustainability. Another reactor is fusion energy. Fusion energy creates limitless and clean energy. Fusion research centers like the Joint Euro-Taurus and Mega Amp Spherical Tokamak are making fusion become a reality. Now the pros of solution 2 are fewer carbon emissions, stable energy grid, cheaper power, decrease in nuclear energy costs, and implementation time. Some of the cons of solution 2 are long upfront implementation time, huge upfront cost, and it could possibly be too late for the nuclear industry because there are multiple reactors currently being shut down in the US. Another con is public support. Some limitations would be it is very limited at the start. It's very, very hard to find financial support, and there will be a shift of government funds. Some of the implications would be climate change would be diminished, the US would have a reliable nuclear energy power grid, and the US would have more expendable, reliable energy. Solution 3 is to implement SMRs, small modular reactors, into the power grid. According to NewScale, a company spearheading the SMRs, SMRs are cheaper, safer, and faster to implement than conventional reactors. These reactors are produced in factories and assembled on site. These reactors are smaller than conventional reactors and would act as a secondary source of power when renewables are offline, or primary power for small communities.
This leads us to our friend Will Slingland's part of the presentation, who is sick. So he says, we chose solution 1, using nuclear reactors as an already developed bridge towards the implementation of renewable sources and decarbonization. This is the best solution because of its benefits of both using nuclear energy and renewable energy sources. According to Chirklea Karakosta, a research associate working at the University of Athens, today there are several opportunities for nuclear energy sources, RES, as well as for nuclear technologies to contribute to mitigating climate change and to promote sustainable development. Using nuclear energy as a bridge would allow us to continue to use nuclear power as a long-standing, environmentally friendly base, while more renewable power plants such as solar, hydroelectric, and wind turbines are built. This will keep our emission levels down using nuclear power while we replace fossil fuel plants with renewable plants. This plan is also cheap as it doesn't require the building of more expensive nuclear plants. Only the continued operation of the plants already standing, nuclear power, and a long-term replacement of fossil fuels with renewable sources such as solar, hydro, and wind power, which would bring carbon emissions from our energy grid to 0. That's our video.
Terrific.